Joan, and today I have a very special video for everybody. It is not only my first Wednesday video in a very long time, but it is also a collab with Sophie here on YouTube, and I'm super excited that she reached out and that we were able to put this together for everybody because this has been like so much fun. So the idea for this collab is that we both came up with a pitch, like a writing prompt to write about, and we sent it to the other person, and then we both wrote stories for each of the pitches. So we wrote 2 stories each, and it was just super fun to kind of get out of the headspace of young adult contemporary, and I wrote something just completely different to what I've been writing for camp, and it was just a lot of fun and very just relaxing to do this. So for my channel, I will be reading the prompt that I sent her. I will have Anne read her story, and then I will read my story, and we'll just kind of see how they're like, see how they're different, and all of that fun stuff. So I have my computer with me so I can read things off of it, and this is the pitch that I sent Anne that we both wrote stories for. Humans left the Earth thousands of years ago and boarded a ship that roamed space, looking for a new place to call home. But we made our home the ship. Landing was never on the horizon. As kids, we were raised to believe that the Earth became inhabitable for humans. So, when I got the call to the captain's quarters and was given the mission to go back to Earth and research, I thought the captain was kidding. But when I landed on the planet, I knew there had to be more to the story. So for those of you who don't know who Anne is, she is another author tuber here on YouTube, and I will link her channel down in the description so you can go check out her videos, check out the video on her channel that we did together where we both wrote a story to the prompt that she sent and that she came up with. She hosts the seasonal writing challenges. She does different writing challenges on her channel. She occasionally does some vlogs. She'll do live streams, and I've been on some of her live streams, and she will be on mine, I think, next week. And now I will have Anne read her story.
Hi everyone. The capsule I was in barely fit me and everything I wanted to take. The captain had told me they could send everything I would need later on, with a promise of weekly food and supply deliveries directly to the place I had landed on just minutes earlier. In preparation to leave, I had skimmed through a few books on Earth I could easily find in the library. Since I had only had 3 days before my departure was scheduled, I had to use my time wisely. As I couldn't know exactly when I would return, I wanted to say goodbye to everyone on the ship and get a good night's rest before heading out. I sat in my capsule, looking out through the dirty, frosted glass, wondering how I had been chosen to go on that mission. I was merely in my 30s, unexperienced with on-location research, and with little knowledge of Earth, other than the stories we've been told since childhood. The ship had been my home. It had been my parents' home and their parents before them. We, as the humans managed to escape before Earth consumed our lives, had lived on the spaceship for centuries, roaming the endless skies for a new planet to inhabit. We hadn't found anything suitable, which is why the captain had secretly taken course back to our solar system and made the plan to send someone out to Earth to research. But why me? A beeping noise pulled me out of my thoughts, and looking at my control panel, I realized that the pressure in my tiny space ball had dropped low enough to open the door and step foot on Earth. I took a deep breath, not understanding what I was about to see, and pressed the button to open the door into a forgotten world. Before I stood up or walked outside, I looked around. Without the shadowy window screen in front of my eyes, I could see the world around me. The captain had said he would drop me on the continent of Europe, as it had a milder climate than most of the other continents. The ground I stood on looked like the sandy grass I had read about, and looking closer I could see tiny strips of green grass rising to my ankle height. I was still wearing my spacesuit, but stepping outside of the capsule felt heavier than ever before. The captain had told me to study the gravity laws of Earth, as there were harsher conditions than on board, but I hadn't spent enough time on that topic. I took out a small device meant to measure the saturation of oxygen in the atmosphere, and was surprised to see them at a level that meant I could take my helmet off. Before I did that, though, I changed the settings to look for radiation of any kind. The test came back negative, or at least low enough for me to tolerate, and I put the device down. Reaching for the point where my suit connected to my helmet, my hand trembled. I wasn't sure if I was truly ready to experience Earth that way my descendants had centuries ago, but part of my mission was to try and live off of Earth and its nature for a few days. The captain had given me a few books that were supposed to help me identify the plants I could eat. He had also given me containers to bring some of the food back to the spaceship for intense testing. As the air from my suit left the helmet, I pulled it off my hat. The sensation seemed to overwhelm me. It was warm. That was the first thing I felt, and the sun seemed to almost prick my skin. Wind was the next thing I could make out, though I had never felt a natural wind before. The noise of the world around me slowly crept into my head. The wind made plants move and whisper to me, and I could hear movement behind me. As I turned around, I saw a big field of sandy grass, and on the other side a creature I couldn't quite make out. As I looked on, the creature fixated on me before breaking out into a sprint and heading in my direction. Panic shot through me as I tried to find a way to identify the creature, while also finding safety to hide in. Since there was nothing other than the capsule I had come in, I squeezed back inside and pulled it shut just in time. The creature appeared before the dirty glass only moments later, and I let out a first sign of relief. If the capsule could withstand space, it could withstand Earth creatures. I looked around me and finally found what I had been looking for, something to identify the creature with. The book was big and I wasn't used to skimming through books, but I managed to open it and quickly flip through the pages. A wolf. The creature outside of my capsule was a wolf, or maybe a dog. I couldn't be sure, I wasn't an animal expert. But what was I supposed to do? Wolves and dogs could be dangerous, but dogs could also be peaceful. After moments of deliberation, I looked through the glass into its eyes. It seemed friendly enough, though that didn't always mean anything, but somehow I knew I could trust it. I opened the door back up and stepped outside. The wolf, or dog, had sat down in front of me, interestingly looking at me. As I put my helmet up, it whined, but recovered fast. The creature came close to me and I reached my hand out to it. I took a few moments of sniffing before the wolf, or dog, pressed its face into my hand. While I didn't know anything else about Earth, I knew that I had made a friend on my first day there. That was my story. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to head over to my channel, check out my video, you can do that. And if you came from my channel and you are new to Celeste's channel, definitely subscribe and stick around for more content of hers. Back to Celeste.
All right. One day is 24 hours. 1 month is between 28 and 31 days. 1 year is 12 months. Arbitrary numbers that we still operated on, thousands of years after we had left the planet that gave us those numbers. Living in space, there was no night or day, no winter or summer, no celebration of another rotation around the sun. Nothing like the things that were hidden away in the back of the library aboard the ship. Questions about the planet were answered with textbook explanations. The Earth rotating gave day and night. The natural progression of life made the planet uninhabitable. Humans had no choice but to leave. But here I was, landing on a large piece of rock after saying goodbye to my family and friends. There was no knowing how different our ages would be when, or if, I got back. No one had done a mission like this before, so why was it entrusted to a new adult? It would have been much better to have a middle adult take on this task, but I was chosen simply because I had a particular interest in the planet since I was born. Nothing interested me as much as the large rock floating through space did. Earth. I was already through the hard part of the trip. Somehow, in ways I don't want to understand, I was asleep for it. The first thing I saw when I came to was blue. There was more blue than anything. Water, oceans, lakes, rivers. As the capsule got closer to landing, I was surrounded by green. Trees, grass, bushes, moss. Then the time came to step into the new world, or technically the old world, to find out what secrets of the past it held. That was the entire reason I was here. To determine what had happened on Earth that caused the planet to be uninhabitable, and whether or not we could come back. While I was asleep and traveling, the capsule slowly transitioned to match Earth's conditions. That way the change wouldn't be as much of a shock. I slowly opened the door and emerged from the safety of what I knew. Without a chance to even get both feet on the ground, the surroundings astonished me. What I thought would be a barren desert was a lush jungle. There were plants everywhere, some of which I recognized from books of edible plants, just in case I ran out of food. But there was no telling how large the jungle would be. It could stretch for miles upon miles like it once did. Maybe it never stopped. Maybe the jungles and the forests were never demolished. Maybe Earth was always inhabitable. But then why would we have left? There was no reason to leave if there were plants everywhere. "What are you doing here?" a voice asked from beside me. "Why have you been sent here?" I turned slowly to face where the voice came from. More than anything, I was surprised that I could understand the person the voice came from. I hadn't turned on any of my translating equipment. I wasn't even sure if it was going to work. Answer me. The person had one hand wrapped around something near their waist. The grip on the thing lessened. Unless... The person's arm dropped. Unless you don't understand me. I wasn't expecting humans. I extended my hand like I had read about in the books about proper etiquette from when humans had lived on Earth, the place I was standing. I was standing where we were said to have stood before. But something didn't add up. All the humans were taken away. We created a new place for us to live. Every human was up on that ship. Everyone but the person standing in front of me. If they were here, there must have been more that we left behind. It must have been a mistake. Nothing this big could have happened on purpose. Earth was uninhabitable, so how could a human be standing there with me? What were you expecting? The human, I assumed, refused to shake my hand. I lowered my arm. Uninhabitable land? I answered, figuring it was best to stick to the points. Humans left Earth because Earth became uninhabitable. Is that what they told you? They crossed their arms, something humans used to do when they got mad or defensive, and stared at me. I nodded. Well, let me clear that up. Humans had to leave, because they're the ones that destroyed the once inhabitable planet. They tore the Earth apart, taking only what they needed, and left us with the scraps in the end. It's only when you left that we were able to make the planet start growing again. Who's we? I asked, wondering if there were more humans. The forced, forgotten few. I'd be on that ship if it wasn't for my ancestors being forced to stay behind. Their hand went back to the thing on their side, a weapon of some sort. Now, why are you here? I thought it was really interesting to see these two different stories come out from the same prompt and see how they're similar, see how they're different. It's just kind of really cool to see how writers take a prompt and just go their own way with it, because that's the joy of writing, is just making something your own. I want to thank Anne for doing this collab with me. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do something like this in the future. If any other author tubers or writers want to try this out with me, doing 2 authors, 1 prompt, 1 prompt, 2 authors, whatever you want to call this, 1 pitch, 2 authors, whatever it's called, go ahead and shoot me a message in my Instagram down in the comments below if you guys would like to do a collab like this, because I thought this was really fun. And I had a great time writing these and just seeing how the stories turned out. But that is all I have for today's video, so if you liked it, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Check out Anne's video. I have it linked down in the description. Check out her channel. And I would just like to say thank you all for sticking around to the end of the video, for letting us share our stories with you guys. And I will see you guys all hopefully next week. Bye!